Our dog master is late, is he not?
Send him a message. We'll see.
Yeah, you're good. I'm sure he'll show up. Man, Adam, GM, happy Tuesday, man. How are you feeling? You are now followed by the Cardano man himself because you share the love of pigs.
Yeah, I guess I'll have to pin that up top. It's funny. I sent a message to you. So yesterday I got followed by Charles Hoskins, right? Founder of Ethereum, Cardano. And we've been on a bunch of, I don't know if you've been on a couple spaces with him, I think as well, but I've been on literally like 10 spaces with the dude, interacted with him, interacted with tweets and back and forth, but yesterday he posted a tweet like, hey, this is my, hidden fact of the day. My pig's name is Nike. Right. And of course I have a pig. And so I retweeted and I said, yeah, fun fact. My pig's name is Petunia. Right. And he followed me back. So I was like, this is so funny, dude. You put in all this work, right? You grind. This is what crypto Twitter is, right? You grind, you put in the effort, for years. And then you make a stupid pig tweet and boom, the guy follows you, So it's like, it was a fun day, man. I mean, the last one on my list is Vitalik. I don't know what it's going to take to get to Vitalik. It's probably impossible, but it was nice to have Charles follow me back. It's a fun one. I actually really, I know people give him total shit for Cardano and everything, but I think as far as like clear communicators, Charles is one of the best we have who hasn't been completely driven out of the space. Like Charles is a clear communicator. He may be a scammer, whatever, but his communication as far as what is blockchain and freedom technology, like I think Charles is one of the best. So I'm a Charles fan.
Man, I would have never thought that was the reason that you'd get followed back.
Me neither, bro.
Your little piggy.
Dude, the pig does the work, bro. I'm going to pin it up top so everybody gets to see the pig, man.
Didn't they launch? So they launched a meme coin on Cardano named after Charles's pig, right?
Yeah, so his pig's name is Nike. I only found this later because other people were, tweeting about it and retweeting and stuff. Yeah, his pig's name is Nike. And of course, the shitcoiners on Cardano spun up a meme coin. I guess it trend or blowing up on Cardano is like a 500K market cap, right? So this is like we're not in the same realm of what we're playing with on Bitcoin or what are these other Ethereum or whatever. But yeah, it blew up yesterday. I got some traction and whatever. This is the way it goes. It's like Vitalik's dog, Sailor's dog, Sailor's cat. This is all the stupid memes that happen as people try to chase some attention, really.
So what is your pig's name? Is that we're gonna launch? So what chain are we gonna launch your pig's name? We started as a room.
What's the lamest chain on earth? Maybe Bell's Coin. We can launch a meme coin for Petunia. It'll reach a market cap of $15 and be amazing. Like that's the most trending meme coin on Bell's Coin, right? It's $50 market cap.
It's settled. Once Bell's Coin gets runes, we're launching Adam McBride Petunia ticker, and we're just gonna absolutely send this thing into Valhalla. All right, settled. Whenever that day does come, once we get boons, we're good to go.
Crazy talk.
Yeah. Leo, what's up, man? I'm excited we get to have this conversation. I think is this the first one of this year? Or maybe we did one very earlier this year. But it's been a minute, bro. How you been?
Yeah, guys, it's been a minute. I'm glad to be back. Hope both of y'all are doing well. I'm glad to hear, Adam, that your pig is thriving and going to be soon to be the famous pig of the internet. So looking forward.
Leo, I'm just curious. Have you followed Bell's Coin at all by chance before we do dive into dog and all that stuff?
Look, I've seen it. Like there were, when you guys like kind of rediscovered this, right? Like there were a handful of ordinals people. I never know what's in private group chats and what's public, but there are people like running these things. They're like mining this. They're participating in this. There are ordinals people that are not HNFT people. I know the HNFT people are into it, but there are actual like outside of ordinals Bitcoin type people that are also participating. So you guys have a cool little, it was definitely one of the cooler things that I've seen in the past year. Like I just literally didn't have the time to go like really check it out. But you guys know, basically, if I didn't have like too many like different commitments and stuff, like I would have been right there with you. Like I love this stuff. I think that was pretty sick.
I know probably the person who made, who capitalized on it the most. I won't name names, but I think Bitcoin mining, who do we know in Bitcoin mining, crushed that first month. So yeah, this is it was fun anyway. It is fun. But,
yeah, Bitmain's out here in Las Vegas right now. I messaged John. I haven't heard back from him yet to see if we can meet up. But Bitmain's going all in on Bell's Coin miners. So it's like literally one of the highlights. They literally flew Adam out to Texas just to go speak
yeah,
at
they
it.
wanted me to fly me to Vegas. I was like, bro, I can't do 2 trips in like a month. I'm like, I can't do it. But yeah, they really wanted us out there in Vegas. Is it still? No, it ended yesterday, right? The thing in Vegas. I know actually a bunch of Ordinals guys were out there too. Look, I mean, with the whole Ordinals, it's so funny, but like with Ordinals and the explosion of Ordinals and runes and everything, the huge winners are miners, right? I mean, at the end of the day, miners crushed and continue to crush. Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think it's kind of the revitalization of UTXOs. We talked about this over the last, I guess, year and a half, right? Ever since kind of Ordinals came into the scene. And I think yesterday's conversation that they had on the Ordinal show with Counterparty 2.0, I think is going to bring that back. Maybe we start seeing, the revitalization of Doge Party on Dogecoin. I'm actually quite surprised we never saw Light Party on Litecoin. I was really surprised that never actually happened, but Counterparty 2.0 is cool. And we've been talking with them for a little while. So it is pretty exciting. Bongo, I saw you waving your hand, bro. How you doing today? Have you left the dog army for the Billy army? I'm seeing a lot of these Billy shows.
Listen, let's get right into it. Leonidas, why did you drop a token to destroy $1 billion CAD? Why you did that? Let people want to know, Leo. Okay, people want to know. I haven't left anything, but it's good that we're getting some drama and some action in the rune side of things. It's good to see. Love them both. But Leo, address my question.
Are you talking about the silly cat?
Yes.
Okay, so I think I want to be super clear. Like, I don't hold any silly cat. Okay. Ord.io, the Twitter account, which, the Ord.io in turn runs, obviously not me, does cover on-chain activity on Bitcoin. And it so happened that we released our minting V2 platform yesterday. And we used this top runes mint of the moment when I did the screen recording to show the block vision. And I guess that drew some eyeballs to this mint. And then we covered that it was the hottest mint because it was the most BTC spent yesterday. And that was it, right? And we'll continue to cover pretty much whatever, like the way minting works is like the eye of Sauron, the focus is like moving from one thing to another. And it's like, you never know which of these is going to be popping off and being 100x, right? So we just cover, like, I have no idea, right? So we just cover, letting you know at the moment when something is, maybe a third minted out and there's a lot, like you can see with our block vision in the mint pool that like this thing's clearly got momentum, right? Like every block for the next 10 blocks is like full of these mints, right? It's going to mint out. So we just tweet covering that. Obviously it's not financial advice. I literally will cover anything that's a top mint as long as it is not extremely offensive or it doesn't have a pre-mine. We won't tweet about a pre-mine from that account. But otherwise, it's just purely based on where's the money flowing that day. We will cover that. We do it with ordinals. We do it with runes. So there's no explicit sort of endorsement. Honestly, I wasn't even that aware. It did super well. But that's cool. Congrats to everyone who made money.
It reminds me of what was this is at least a year ago when you tweeted out like a how-to on something. I'm reminded, was that like a Bitcoin frog or something?
That was Bitcoin frogs. I bought a Bitcoin frog for like, I think it was like $30 on a screen recording trying out Magic Eden. And I was literally demoing Magic Eden. And then this thing turns out to be like, the NFT of the year. So that was pretty funny. And like we called that pretty early. Like this really humbles me. It reminds myself that like, dude, do not pretend like you're some sort of market genius here, dude. Like you got lucky like everyone else. Don't act like it's really easy to like get a bunch of followers and like think you're like the best trader ever or something. Not really. Nope. You got lucky meeting Casey, and then you got lucky, buying a few ordinals that like, you know, were profitable. In no way, shape, or form did I know that Bitcoin frogs would do it like, you know, 500x or anything like this, right?
So Leo, it's good to know that you didn't have any like nefarious intentions when you were just retweeting and doing that. But why do you hate Billy the Cat? Why you don't like him?
Dude, Billy the Cat is doing well. Like, I like that we have this sort of mimetic warfare on Bitcoin. I've said this from day one. Like, you know, we had to KO the pups, we had to KO some of these other memes, the hamsters, the pandas. But, you know, I like that a cat has emerged, the $1 billion cat. And, you know, there's a dog, there's a cat. Like, Bitcoin's got some mimetics going. $1 billion cat, I have no idea who's behind it. Stupid Silly Cat, I have no idea who's behind it. I hold zero of either. I do support the Dog Go to the Moon project. I also like that $1 billion cat and Stupid Silly Cat had no pre-mine. So I feel comfortable posting about a hot mint from the or.io account because I know that if there was no pre-mine, every single person is getting the exact same fair chance to buy this thing. Like, it's out there, it's open, and you're paying the same, you know, sats that everyone else is having to pay. Like, you're getting a fair shot. I really like the kind of free and open mint model that Domo pioneered that we now have with Runes. And like, that's why at or.io we're building around that. I very much want to see more mints that are no pre-mine, that are fair for everyone, because literally you're virtually guaranteed there's no insider cabal that is getting at a cheaper price than you. You're buying off the chain from the miners the same way everyone else is. So I fully support these like mints. And look, I really have no clue if Stupid Cat will flip $1 billion cat, or if $1 billion cat'll, I don't think it'll flip dog, but who the hell knows? Flips dog. Like, the memetics will play out, right? Like, this will all play out, and we'll see what happens. And congrats to anyone if you minted. You know, we've had some hot mints, and I do think the future, you know, we had the big pre-rune, which was dog. Okay, people, you know, made a lot of money. That was like the way, you know, the number one rune was distributed, was free and fair airdrop. Like, I believe that the next really big rune will be a free mint, and I think my guess is it'll have more than 1 million mints to it. So, you know, I think, you know, do whatever you want with that information, but it's kind of how it played out with sats, right? Like, there will be a big free and open mint that everybody will rally behind, and the thing will probably go up a lot.
Well, that would be what Uncommon Goods is, right? I mean, it has 4 years, but
Uncommon Goods is a unique situation. But yeah, I mean, Uncommon Goods is going to rip. It's probably going to flip dog in 4 years, right? Like, the thing has got some cool stuff going. Like, I don't know if people will consider it a meme coin or just like the de facto, you know, currency of runes. Like, I don't know what it is. Casey hasn't been super clear, honestly.
yeah, I mean, you could probably see that opening up at $1 billion in 4 years. What do you know off the top of your head what the like average cost per mint of uncommon runes is? I know you stare at these like minting interfaces all day, because you could probably come up with like an estimate of what the FDV would be if it opened up with all these mints. Do you know by chance?
So the FDV has to do with essentially, okay, so if we look at all mints of all time, there's 4.3 million. 3.4 million uncommon goods. The problem is people minted this thing at like 500 sat per byte for some reason. So it kind of really screwed it up, quite frankly. Like, people were minting this thing. I don't know why people were minting it in the first day of the protocol, but basically 86 Bitcoin was spent to mint 3.4 million.
Wow.
Uncommon goods. So you can do the math. I can do it quickly. 3.442.
This thing's got 47,000 holders already. That's quite wild. You could see this.
I mean, look, it's Casey Rottenmore's rune. I mean, I totally understand the feel, right? Like, it's a great rune.
Yeah. Also, congrats on the or.io V2. I have it here pulled up on the live stream. I've been browsing it for quite a while. You guys did a really good job at it. However many people you have on the team now.
Thanks, dude. Appreciate it. Yeah, we worked hard on it, and we have some more stuff coming, some more improvements. It's kind of like the V1 of the V2. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So let's dive a little bit into Dog as well while you do that math there. So we have here, just for some metrics, Dog is sitting at ranked number 108 on CoinMarketCap, sitting at $593 million. It's done 38 million in 24-hour volume, and honestly holding up pretty well. It's hitting a right now it's on like a 1 month support trend line, and it's holding pretty well. If you look at a lot of these other coins, it's literally a lot of them have broke to the downside. Like if you look at the WIF chart, it's breaking to the downside, whereas Dog is holding up. Maybe that's a component of having a quite distributed holder base where you don't have as many whales, although there are now some whales who've acquired their way to the top, which is right. That's the rightful, fair, and free mint. What are your thoughts on Dog price action so far, or leading up to today?
So Uncommon Goods, by the way, was $1.62.
Okay.
So that's not terrible. I mean, people should be paying like 75 cents to mint it when fees are lower. Like you can definitely mint lower than that. Like last night, for example. And you gotta understand, there's literally zero rush on the Uncommon Goods mints.
Mm-hmm.
So put this thing at like 8 sat per VByte and just let it do a bulk mint at 8 sat per VByte and just let it sit there. What do I think on the price action of Dog?
Yeah,
like
so far. Yeah, just like so far, we're 2 months. Yeah. We're almost exactly 2 months now into Runes. Meme coins have, been the leader, although there are now a few utility tokens that are starting to pop up. How's the price action, just looking at it today, and then kind of more specifically Dog?
Yeah. So I would say, yeah, it's been out for like a little over 6 weeks now. And essentially we had right when it came out, it had these things kind of move in waves. So we went right up pretty high, then we dropped down, we had a rough moment, then we came up pretty high again, and now we're kind of dropping some. And it just it goes through these like waves of momentum. And if you look, the reality is like the crypto market is just in a little dip right now. I don't consider Bitcoin at 64,000 a really serious dip, but a lot of people do. And I think the reality is, if you just look at the meme coin charts for 7 days, everything's down like 30%. Like it's Dog's actually up 1% in 7 days, which is kind of funny. But it's because we did a little dip before. But ultimately, Jake, look, it's like you have to basically zoom out, realize they're highly volatile meme coins, and the upward trajectory is sort of what's important here. So we went to I think we touched 980, and then we're down to 592 right now. It's very normal to me for meme coins, and I think a lot of people freak out, and I think that's normal. I think a lot of people are invested way more than they can afford to lose, which is unfortunate. But look, we will see. I'm not the oracle of Dog coin. I just know that if we keep building around the Runes protocol, and Dog's the #1 meme coin on Bitcoin, I think for Dog to be successful, Runes needs to be successful. That's a pretty important thing. But Dog is the most valuable rune, and we will see what happens. I'm personally bullish. I'm bullish on Dog, and we'll see. We got a lot going for ourselves. I think I'm very happy with us sort of achieving 108 in the world for crypto.
Since you guys are obviously doing the etching and stuff, is it what are you seeing as far as trending with etching and stuff? Is it completely kind of just hype driven, like what's the thing of the day and that goes crazy, or what are you seeing as far as the flow of what people are just etching, and what's been your kind of vibe over the last few weeks as far as the way it's working for people?
Look, yeah, it's a good question. People are not etching as much anymore. It's slowed down. I would say, just the past week things have chilled out. But look, there's active minting communities. There's alpha chats like there always are. There are people looking to find, for example, that silly cat or whatever, right? there is an active minting community, and then there's people trading there's all these Japanese businessman. So it's all trading. What's up? What's up, dude? How are you? It's been a while since I've gotten to talk to Uber. I actually he left. Rip. It's been like a year since I talked to Uber. He ignored all my messages. I never got to talk to him. But yeah, look, there's a pretty active minting community, and I would say just on the trading front, there is a healthy top 10, tokens for Runes. I'm very happy. When I would say a month ago, we had this problem where there just weren't that many valuable Runes. Now there's, you got to have a decently high market cap to be number 10. So there's like an organic, healthy ecosystem there, and we just need to keep building on it. Like, I think a lot of people's expectations were just way too high for the first month and a half of a new protocol.
Yeah.
And we'll just keep building up.
Yeah, I agree. I do see some hands up. We'll make the rounds here in a second. I have a few more questions, and then we could kind of open it up here. You're kind of playing both sides. It's really cool to see, Leo, right? You helped, kind of lead this decentralized meme coin movement, free and fair. And now we're seeing it being replicated across, even different ecosystems where even, Unisat was trying to replicate something similar, with pizza, and people are taking those values and starting to see conversations on other chains of how to do these type of things. And then on the other side, right, you raise some capital, $2 million for Ord.io, and you get to see, the professional side of it. Just looking at the overall, the growth of the community and the culture of Runes, and then on the business or the development side, you're seeing growth as well. What would you say is like the biggest takeaway 2 months into Runes in terms of the development of the social and kind of professional side of it? Were there any kind of things that, maybe surprised you? And then on the other side of that, are there any things that you see the community or the Runes ecosystem lacking?
Look, I have to agree with the degens. Like, we're just lacking on the UX front right now. Like, it's very clear. Like, people come to the Runes protocol, they come to Bitcoin, they download Xverse or something, they do all the right things, and then they just will end up having a bad experience. So, like, for example, when you go to buy the Rune on Magic Eden, they're like, what the hell is this? Like, why am I buying this thing like an NFT? Like, it's the same stuff as BRC20. And there's a lot of people that cannot get over that, right? You're used to just clicking this fast button to swap things on these other chains. And then all of a sudden it's like, what is going on? Yeah. So that's the lack of AMMs is an issue. I don't think centralized AMMs is also the answer necessarily. I think those are potentially a little dangerous. But AMMs on L2s or something could be an answer. And then it's the same with minting, right? Like, every single Runes mint that happens, there's invalid mints. People pay the money, they get outbid in the mint pool, they lose their money, and they lose the mints because they're already broadcasted to the network. That's just a really unfortunate aspect of not having smart contracts. We can't programmatically return those funds to people.
So what is your thought then on, kind of the native, excuse me, the nativeness of Runes, with the UTXO splitting, where that is something that the Bitcoin community has created, due to some of the technical constraints, or on the other side of this, if you're somebody who prefers decentralization, you're like, I prefer this kind of clunky experience. It gives me some edge, right? Because I know how to split up UTXOs. I can generate a profit, or I can, build in a way that hasn't been replicated on the other side. Do you think that, it could potentially be a negative that we're trying to build, decentralized DeFi or NFTFi protocols and borrowing them from smart contract platforms and trying to apply them to Bitcoin? Could you see that on the other side being potentially negative, or maybe, washing away some of the edge or the strengths that the native, I guess, Ordinal and Runes degens possess?
Yeah, like, I don't think a lot of people understand the game, right? Like, by showing up early and being the trick pony that jumps through the hoops, you get to have access to this asset class before it's easy to have access to. and thus means you're competing with way less people to buy these tokens. So the narrative is still the same. You're buying the top dog coin on Bitcoin. You're just having to, it's a little bit more challenging to buy it, and that's totally fine. Like, I'm completely willing to sit down for 5 minutes and like figure out how to buy this thing, and it turns out like almost everyone else isn't, and that's fine. Like, that's our edge. This was our edge with ordinals, right? Like, this is the edge. And if people don't understand how bullish it is that you can't buy the thing, everybody wants to buy it, but they can't figure out how to buy it. You could. That's the most bullish thing ever, because ultimately you're guaranteed for all of these builders in the space. Like, I'm specifically focused on these problems. There's a lot of builders focused on these problems. These things will get better, 100%. Like, just very basic example, the block vision we released on Ord.io yesterday, right? This gives great insight into the mem pool and to these mint transactions. We're kind of doubling down on that with some stuff shortly as well. And look, we need just the entire space to do a lot more like that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I actually think the difficulty in trading actually provides, I guess guys call it plunge protection, a little bit of plunge protection, because it just, the trading experience is so difficult. It doesn't let everybody dump their bags, right? And so you do get like some softening of the valleys, at least, and maybe, probably some softening of the peaks too. At least at this early experience, it feels like that. But I had a question about the like because honestly, I haven't done, after the first like launch of runes and that day of the excitement around it, I haven't done any etching since then. But if I were to get back into it, do you feel like right now, from a trading perspective, is the best strategy to wait till something's 80% minted, or you see it trending in some way and then mint towards the end? Is that what you're seeing kind of people do on the site, is like wait for something?
That's what people do. That is not what you should do.
Oh, tell me what you should do. Tell me what
it's hot. Yeah. At the end, you're gonna get wrecked. Like
you're gonna miss it. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, you wanna understand basically essentially the on-chain activity, and then you want to sort of get quote unquote early to the mint, where it's like it has the velocity where it will likely mint out, and then you want to basically fire off your transactions at a hopefully lower sat per v byte, because what happens is there's this finite amount of 30,000 slots at the end of a mint, and everyone's competing and bidding against each other to get into those slots, right? And this drives up the Bitcoin network price, right? Like the fees on Bitcoin will literally double and triple during this time, and you definitely want to try to be before that moment happens. So I really, it's obviously hard. Not everyone can be online 24/7, but if you go to Ord.io and just look, and we have better tooling coming out for this, I think hopefully tomorrow, you'll be able to just very easily see like really like what is trending before the actual mints are coming through. You can see in the mint pool that the activity is there, and that's pretty much the name of the game. Like, just just pray and pray a lot of hot mints, and hopefully one of them is like a really popular mint, right? And try to do that before the very end, where you're going to end up in this situation where you're very much fundamentally it's an unfortunate experience, and there's no real solution to it. When somebody comes to the space, they pay for their rune mint, the mints get broadcast to the network, and then you don't get your runes. Well, that happened because between the moment you picked your price to mint at, and then the moment that like the next block being mined, the fee rate went up, and like we can't control the fee rate at Ord.io. Nobody can, and your mints are no longer competitive. So I always recommend, like, if you are bidding towards the end, be extra generous with your fees, and then also ideally don't jump in at the very last moment. Like, hopefully mint when you've got a little bit of time left, I would say.
Have you noticed, because this is one of the things, like with Pump.Fun and Solana, it's like they settled on something that kind of works, right? Which is like a billion supply or something like that, right? Have you seen that? Because we've talked to people who wanted to make kind of Pump.Fun on runes. Have you seen like a mint number or an etch number that seems to be like that's the right amount, where it provides like a wide enough user base, but is still easily enough to mint out? Like, you know, have you seen that number, or do you have a kind of a gut feeling on what that number is?
More.
Really? Really?
It's very simple. It's very simple. You want your rune to initially hit secondary with you want a ton of holders, because if your rune only has 50,000 mints, you know might get 1,000 people minting. Well, now your rune only has 1,000 holders, and it's you somehow have to work your way up to 10,000 holders if you want to get to a $20 million market cap or something, right? Like, it's just fundamentally not possible. The holder count is very important. It was one of the insights with, you know, Runestone and Dog that was, I would say, important. And that is a really important thing you cannot overcome. So otherwise you have to work your way in secondary from 1,000 people to 10,000 people. It is way easier to just have a larger rune mint. So look, people are doing, like, the meta was 40,000 or 50,000. It's starting to be 100,000. I would really like to see that number go up to like 500,000. I think would be a very healthy, you know, instead of these mints that just last for an hour and a half, where, look, everybody piles into the mint, but it's like a lot of them just don't do well because, look, it was very easy to get in. You're buying it at a very low market cap. The thing is going to only have a couple hundred holders or 1,000 holders. It would be much more efficient for the market to, like, team up, pick the rune that has 500,000 mints needed, and just mass mint it for 24 or 48 hours. That is going to have a much higher probability of doing well. So I'm definitely trying to tell people, like, you are competing, like, the rune that you're all minting is competing with all other runes. All other runes have way more holders and stuff. You guys definitely should be focused on, you know, minting more than 100,000, you know, mint out runes. And I really like the sort of open-ended, no mint cap, but you do have like a time frame between blocks. This is what Casey's doing with Uncommon Goods, for example, where if you can get a lot of people excited about a rune, then you just say, this will be open for 1 week, mint as much as you want. And then hopefully people mint a lot of it, right? And then it gives time where if it does become a hot mint, people can just mint this thing like crazy. And then you go to secondary, and all of a sudden it's you got 10,000 people and you're now one of the top runes. Like, that's the path. I think it is really hard. You might get a nice 10x or go to like $5 million market cap from a $500,000 market cap mint or something if you mint, you know, 100,000 total mints and have 1,000 holders. But you can jump straight to the big leagues, a top 10 rune, if you have a dank meme and no pre-mine, and you give it the thing like 500,000 or 1 million mints. Like, this is definitely, we saw this with BRC20. Like, the number 2 BRC20 just happened to be the one that had, it was the meme with the most mints, right? 19 or like 21 million mints or whatever, right? So that's the strategy I would be looking for. I would like to see the market evolve towards that. I think people are a little too short. They're just a little too short-term focused, where they really want the mint where it's just an hour of time where you're aware that this thing's going to mint out. It should be a day of time, and everyone should have an opportunity to get in. And then you're going to have 10,000 people on this powerful meme going to secondary, and like, it could do really, really well, and, you know, be a long-term, you know, potentially $1 billion meme in the space. It's just not going to happen, in my opinion, with like 50,000 Sapper byte. 50,000 mints. Yeah, it's just not going to happen. But it can go up a lot. Like, it's all relative, but it's like, I want to see top memes in this space, right? I want to see a bunch of memes competing with Dog. I want a healthy meme coin economy on Bitcoin, right?
Yeah, so I have here on or.io, it looks like there's about 20 or so tickers that have over 100,000 mints. Of course, some of these have pre-mines. The most as of now is Cook the Mempool, which has 4,300,000 about. And that was kind of an early one, and that's associated with the project, speculatively, of course, here. Yeah, when you get down into these lower ones, right, where there's 1,000 mints, 10,000 mints, that's more PvP, more kind of pump.fun style, right? It's all people kind of dumping on each other, tempting to mint it. And then obviously you have one or two that kind of breaks out. We've seen that kind of recently. As you said, right, more mints is the larger the community, and the little bit tougher it is to play that PvP kind of game. But then, you know, like with Dog, for example, the PvP is more PvP against the other meme coins in other ecosystems, not as much competing against, the coins or the runes within the Bitcoin ecosystem, right? This is why I continually post the chart of dog compared to Doge. And I was like, this is literally the only chart that should probably matter. If you want to be the top meme coin, it doesn't really matter if anything else. I'm hoping one day that TradingView adds dog BTC pair, because I think the ultimate pair for dog is dog BTC against Doge BTC. And if you could continually get that to go up, that's really the pair, right? Because you want to appreciate against Bitcoin, right? And if you want to appreciate against Doge, then that would be it. And Doge, actually, I think it's Doge and maybe Solana, I think, are the only two coins that have gone up against BTC in the longer term. I might be off there. I know Doge for sure, but there's only a handful of tickers. So if you want to be the best, you got to measure it by the best. Don't measure it against anything else. Although I do like to have fun and, compare runes and cover the ecosystem, just because I think it's interesting. And a lot of people, outside of runes like to see these type of numbers and, hopefully it attracts them. Of course, the experience is a little bit different, but
well, our Dogecoin friends were telling us that Doge got wrecked yesterday. I didn't track it at all, but yes, there was like almost $1 billion in liquidations. I don't know. Some people taking long positions got murdered yesterday. So yeah, I guess yesterday was a bloodbath for pretty much everything.
For everything.
The Trump token or something, the fake Trump token or whatever that is, man.
It never ends. Okay, I got maybe one question more too. One thing I like to monitor here is actually Runestone. I monitor Dog a lot, but I do think Runestone is also kind of this decentralized meme coin, but it's more in the NFT version. Looking at it now, it still remains the second highest ordinal collection by market cap, sitting at 81 million. And then you have Node Monks that are at 815 million. Kind of also wild that there's only one ordinal collection over $100 million market cap. I think that is quite wild. But Leo, from your perspective, right, you've been focusing, or you've been, promoting Dog, or, just helping share awareness around it. Do you have any maybe alpha, or has anyone approached you about building projects on Runestone, or, potential airdrops that aren't associated with the two that you've focused on? Just curious of the rumblings. Runestone has maintained its value quite well comparatively to the rest of the ordinal market. Just curious if there's any other builders focused on Runestone versus the alternative of kind of the attention economy on Dog.
Yeah, so look, there's definitely Runestone holders who are not dog holders, who maybe sold their dog, or they came in and bought Runestone, on secondary after the dog airdrop. I think, I would hope people kind of realize that, like, it's a very, you guys know how it is. Like, people will screenshot the Runestone and ask, like, what happened to this? It's like, well, the reality was they got $1 billion airdrop out of it. Like, that's what happened to it. But, nice try. So yeah, look, I think, the focus, at least my focus, is on Dog. And that's primarily because Dog is bullish for Runestone, right? Like, if Dog goes up, these second and third meme coins inside the Runestone will go, like, those will become more valuable. So it totally makes sense. Like, if Dog is not successful, then it's going to be hard for Runestone to be successful, right? And the idea is Dog is like, look, Runestone is not built for the masses, right? They're not going to understand what Runestone is. They can absolutely understand what Dog is. So we need to break out past $1 billion market cap. And then really, this is where Dog thrives, right? Like, it's the cute orange Bitcoin puppy, right? And that going to, 2, 3, 4, 5, and beyond billion pulls Runestone along with it. So it's like almost the mass retail pulls Runestone along with it. And that is very bullish for Runestone. So yeah, there's absolutely, people I see it all the time, citing that they were inspired by Free and Fair. And I think that's awesome. Like, I love that. I want to see more inspiration from Free and Fair. Free and Fair was inspired by, many other airdrops in the past. And it's great to see the airdrop meta and the Free and Fair movement kind of thriving, I would say. Like, number 2 on Bitcoin, we're literally just behind, Node Monkeys and market cap. That's a huge success to me. I know people will look at it and be like, well, it was worth $700 million. Well, if you don't understand the dynamics of the airdrop, I can't really help you. And fundamentally, look, number two, let's get back to number one. Like, we're pretty close to being number one on Bitcoin again. It's like, it's hard to critique something that, the market's going down. Like, CryptoPunks are 26 ETH, right? Like, we're in a rough moment in NFTs right now. And you just, I fundamentally believe in NFTs, and I believe they will see their day again. And the focus will be on NFTs at some point again. And a lot of these ordinals collections will go back up a ton in market cap, and it will just take time. And the fact that we're number two right now and almost number one is very bullish. And look, if we stick to our values and we don't like compromise our values and change things up to try to quickly rise the floor price or something, we're going to be in really good shape. Like, we did something very special, and I think people understand that and recognize that. And I'm just, again, long term bullish on both Runestone and Dog.
Yeah, me too. So pulling some stats. So the most sales in 24 hours for ordinal collection, Bitmap is number one at 192 sales, and then Runestone is number two, also in terms of transaction volume, with 124 purchases in the last 24 hours. So, the demand is still there. Maybe the value or the overall market cap's not as high, but that's kind of the component of it. I think Bitmap's also like number 6 by market cap. I've been, I'm also kind of inspired by the free and fair mint. I think Dog and Runestone has really shown, and also just the overall kind of airdrop trend that's happened on Bitcoin this is what the community wants, and this is what the community favors. I've personally explored all different types of Rune sales models. I've made an infinite amount of pitch decks and slides to try to see what people want. And I think it's quite overwhelming through my own experience that the majority of people want this free and fair mint. The public mint of Runes hasn't done too well so far. And, for my own company, with Emblem, we have, Runes that we've publicly announced that we etched in around 5,000. And we're looking for different models to distribute the free and fair model for a utility token per se, right? It's going to be a little bit different of a meta. And so, we're looking into rewarding Runestone holders because that's a community that we love and look forward to. And it's kind of shown that they're quite supportive. I think that's honestly one of the things is, it's different where you look on the other smart contract, or when you look at the smart contract platforms, a lot of people just dump their airdrop immediately. I saw yesterday, it was with the ZK Sync airdrop, 41% of airdrops dumped their sale immediately. Whereas, with Runestone and Dog, it did not appear to me to be anywhere close to that. If I remember, the Runestone airdrop was around 77,000 wallets. And then it got down to about 70,000, right? So you're saying 10% of the people really sold that airdrop. And I see that actually across some of these other airdrops as well. It's primarily a holder collector base. Maybe that's just, a byproduct of the Bitcoin mem pool. But I think this is actually quite bullish for, Bitcoin utility or Runes utility tokens. Because you want users, and if the majority of the people are generally just holding it because there's something that resonates with the free and fair, maybe it brings them a little bit closer to the project. It's something that I'm actively looking forward to, and I think we will probably see a lot of utility tokens here in the next, 3 months throughout the end of the year as people begin to start experimenting. And I think that's personally when the Runes ecosystem starts expanding and you start getting new players into the ecosystem, where those who are looking on the outside say, oh, I can do some things with this, or at the very least, the community, the community rewards experimenters and people who are trying to do new things rather than, being extractive, trying to be a little bit additive to the ecosystem. So that's something I look forward to. And I think the Runestone community really represents a lot of that, at least from the data, or at least the market-driven data that's helped me make that decision. You have something to say? You look like you're
no, it's just, when we discussed this a lot, like what was going to happen when Dog got airdropped, was it just going to be straight dump, right? And so much we've seen, like you just said with ZK Sync or whatever, yesterday, 41% dropped it or dumped it immediately. the other, 59% didn't realize they got an airdrop, right? It's like people just insta dump this stuff, right? And so that it's almost the thing that's the most impressive to me about what Leo's been able to do with Runestone and Dog is to create a vision of the future where people want to hold on to it, which is incredible and really, really difficult to do. And I think it's still out there. Like people are holding their Runestone. Like who knows, what airdrops other teams or, companies or whatever are going to be like, well, we need a community. We want to get into ordinals. We want to get into the space. What should we do? Let's just airdrop, a portion of our tokens to Runestone holders. And you've immediately got this like, diverse, user base who is deeply embedded in Bitcoin, right? And you see the potential there. And I think, being able to sell that vision is probably the thing that's been most impressive about, what you've done, Leo, over the last few months is, create this vision of the future that people want to hold on to these assets. Yeah, it's awesome, man. It's awesome.
It's what we've looked for. I mean, I've been in the space since 2016, and the airdrops has always been a thing. I think probably because on smart contract platforms, it's just much easier to dump them, right, with instant sales. Whereas runes, it's kind of this fourth type of asset class. It's not a semi-fungible token. It's not a fungible token. It's not a non-fungible token. It's kind of somewhere in the middle. It's like a composable ERC 1155, I guess. It's something that I talked about last year. And I think it's even more true now, seeing some of the same iterations. And then now Counterparty 2.0 will also kind of be in that boat as well, which is cool, right? It's like account based on top of a UTXO, which is quite interesting to say the least. But the community is cool. And one thing that, this is why I talked about this kind of in the beginning of, the nativeness of runes trading, I think is actually quite of a benefit, whether it is because of, the plunge protection, because on BRC20 it's just a pain in the ass to have to write a transfer inscription to list. And then the floor keeps dropping. You have to write another one to kind of catch the bottom, right?
I'm telling you, it's plunge protection, man. It's like, who knew? This is the best. It's like the best of all worlds with meme coins. It's like, it's number it's number go up technology, man. This is like what we've always wanted for meme coins, man.
If you look at the top coins, right? So Ordi from all-time high to its low from off the high was about 60%. For most of these coins across these different places or across these different platforms is generally 80-90% drawdown. We're seeing now Dog is at a 30-ish, maybe 40% drawdown from 980 million to about 580 million. It's like a little over 40%. I think that's it's a testament to the community, and it's probably a testament to kind of how the UTXO model is on Bitcoin. So it's quite exciting, and I'm excited to see what the future is and to have this conversation. I will pass around to some of the hands now. Thank you everyone for waiting patiently. If anyone wants to come on stage, just hit the request button, or you could just drop a comment in the bottom right hand corner, hit the purple button. We'll make sure. Or if you come on the live stream, you could also ask a question there. So there's a few here. So we'll go to On-Chain Hustlers, and then we're going to go to Booktoshi and Hash right after.
Hey, how you doing, Jake? You guys hear me?
Yes,
Sounds
sir.
like I was broken in mine. Okay, cool. Thanks for having me on stage, Jake. And hi, Leo. I think it's the first time we were speaking. Thanks for all the free money you gave me. I was really appreciated. I have 2 questions for you, though. I know you're really against like pre-mine, but what do you think about the bid dogs theory and how they're going about their tokens? And the second question I have for you, because you keep pressing on the issue that Dog is gonna pass Doge. I know that's just for engagement. I'm down with it because I'm bullish on Dog as long as Leo got the Twitter fingers. So, have you heard about Doginals, and why do you think Dog is gonna pass Doge?
Sorry, what was the first question again? I didn't fully catch.
First question was basically the bid dogs. Have you heard of bid dogs? How they're currently distributing their runes? What do you think about that model?
So I do not. I've heard of bit dogs. I know of this. Can you explain to me what they're doing that's unique?
Oh yeah. So basically, they're kind of like paying a salary, if I must say it that way. Given content creators and people that are actually trying to help the ordinals ecosystem, they're actually distributing runes to them every now and then, instead of just holding all the supply. It's kind of a way to just pay forward, right?
So like if I tweet about them or something, then I get rewarded in
yeah, if you make like graphics and stuff like that, yeah, you get rewarded.
So, but what, like, do they have 100% of the supply and they're gonna trickle it out to us? Is that the strategy?
It's more like a game. It's kind of more like a
yeah,
RSIC
kind of more like
thing.
a game. So they've been trickling out. They've been giving people. They just released something called boosters. So if you got the boosters, you get more stuff like that.
It was actually born from the OXBT community. So they took a community takeover of OXBT. They created an NFT, and then that dog mines runes, or they say digs for
Who's
runes.
doing it? Like, who's doing
it digs bones.
Who's behind it on chain? Like,
I don't know who's behind it at all.
Yeah, that's the real question. Good question.
Yeah, I honestly, look, I have no idea. Like, I do think about like the sort of charitable way to look at it would be they're doing a bounty program, which I think is cool. The uncharitable way would be like, I'd have to actually see how they're implementing it, but it could just be like, look, there's very manipulative people. So like, there are people who literally just give tokens to all their friends and all these influencers and then frame it as this charitable thing for, the people who are helping to spread awareness. Or like, you can frame stuff in so many ways. I just don't know. I haven't looked into it enough to be able to give my read of if it's a good or bad or what the deal is. But in general, giving away tokens is cool. I personally don't like gifts to influencers. This is, to me, the new term. Like, I didn't like when in Ordinals, we kind of celebrated that we're gifting to influencers. We're creating these honoraries and gifting to them to people with a ton of followers. And then, of course, this is just the new version of paid promo. Like, you're paying people something worth monetary value, and then they're taking it, and then, okay, like, they probably are supposed to tweet about it. Like, it's usually when you're given $10,000, you will tweet about it just out of like respect for the $10,000 you were just given. So it's a giant grift. The whole. I'm personally not a fan of this huge honoraries, gifts to influencers, gifts to the top 1,000 people with the most followers. Like, this is stupid. Like, you can do it. I just think it's literally just paid promo, like with a slightly different angle to it. And I just don't. I really believe that you create the longevity through organic sort of growth, right? Like, Bored Apes, like, sure, they could go up really fast by giving Bored Apes to a bunch of celebrities who didn't care or won't actually to have a Bored Ape, but they'll accept it because it's worth $500,000 and they'll tweet about it. But like, did that really help Bored Apes long term? Like, are Bored Apes in a better place today, or should they have tried to basically be more organic and grow at whatever rate like they actually deserved based on what they were creating, and build a more robust, resilient, long-term community? And I think the current floor price of like 80 for a Bored Ape kind of reflects that. No, like, I don't think like if Satoshi had just gifted BTC to all the world banks or something to like help it spread faster, okay, great, your thing rockets in price in short term, but long term, is that really healthy? Like, you didn't allow it to go through its paces organically. And I really believe organic growth is the way to grow. You want organic, massive holder base of just normal people.
Yeah, thanks for that answer. So, before you answer the second question, what if because a lot of projects have already pre-mined allocations. How will you say they go about that? Or do you
Burn it.
Burn the whole supply?
Light those babies on fire. Send them to Satoshi. Look, on-chain, I am the voice. I understand I'm not reasonable, right? I expect people to think that's silly, and in many cases it is. Like, look, people can do pre-mines. People can do whatever they want, right? I'm going to try to give an extra voice in this ecosystem that makes a market that doesn't do the pre-mine situation, because I don't think it's best for the market. If you're creating a software company or you're creating a utility token, you can absolutely do a pre-mine, and you can absolutely gift that to your engineers and your investors and the founders and do all of that dance. I think that's very normal. And I think it's just a good incentive structure in many cases, right? You're rewarding people who participated more. But what I don't like, and this is the trend I'm against, is the idea of having these non-utility meme coins where the founder does nothing. Right? Like, the founder, if you're a meme coin, there's nothing to do. Like, all I do is tweet about dog, right? Like, this whole thing of like creating a company behind a meme coin and like having this huge team allocation and all this stuff, I'm just fundamentally, this is the cringiest. Like, if you think dog is cringy, I'm looking right back at you and saying your corporate meme coin is cringy. This is the absolute truth. And I literally cannot believe we're at a phase where people are literally favoring these like really like they're all architected behind the scenes by like just wealthy people. And then they already line up all the market makers, and they already know that they're going to get listed on like this one tier one exchange because that tier one exchange is getting 1% of the tokens and all this stuff. And it's like, it's shame on retail for basically fueling that engine because it's so unhealthy, and they're just going to go from one to the other to the other to the other with that machine, and they're just going to make their profits. And yeah, it's seriously crazy to me that we're at a point where meme coins are all sort of kind of gamed by institutions. Like, what the hell, guys? Like, like, it's so easy. You can just organize an airdrop to each other, like do like Dog did. Okay, this is not rocket science to just raise some money and do a big airdrop to people. And then you can also do a free and open mint. I want somebody to go mint out a 5 million, mint, 10 million mint dank meme coin, and it rockets to 1 billion too, right? So yeah, it's shocking to me how the market has all the tools. Like, we have a blockchain, we don't need the centralized authorities, and we keep just going back and giving like these corporations and like hedge funds and stuff the ability to still run the show. It's a lack of organization on retail's front, and like this is where Dog really shines. Like, we organize as retail, and ultimately made something way more valuable, right? Like, even like Andrew Tate's coin and stuff, right? Like, he comes out, he does all this stuff, but like the whole thing was cabaled from the start. Like, somebody did this token for him and took like 50% of the supply. They still hold a ton. They gave like 40% to Tate. The thing's not even like, Tate is supposed to have a really loud voice, and like this thing's not worth more than Dog. Like, if retail can organize itself and do these giant free and open mints or free and fair airdrops, you're going to create way more value and just longevity of your thing than having this just constant pump and dump sort of situation where like these funds will create these meme coins and you buy them, but you're like the last person buying them. They've already lined up all these KOLs who got it before you for free for tweeting about it, and it's a whole thing. And you spend enough time in this space and you watch it over and over and over, and it truly shocks me that people will buy a corporate meme coin that has a team and a market team behind it. Like, that is so deeply, deeply weird to me.
Yeah, low key,
Very bizarre.
the celebrity meta is bullish for Dog because it was like fair mint, right? The fair mint concept is now like rare again, and for some reason, retail just comes in and buys up all these celebrity tokens right when they launch, just after the celeb bought up, 50% of the supply or whatever it is. It goes up 10x. The celebrity dumps it, and then it goes to zero. It's like this already happened 4 times in the last week, and people are still doing it. And the problem with the pump and dump thing, especially because now that it's so popular, it's so in the limelight, like celebrities doing it, everybody knows about it now. Lil Pump put Solana tattoo on his forehead. Is that regulators are just going to come in and look at this and say, okay, this is just classic scamming retail, and now we need to get our hands involved in this and wreck the whole thing for everybody. It's like, it's actually, this could be really bad.
So you're telling me you guys aren't going to go through Tim Draper and Adam Draper's meme coin accelerator? You're not buying any of those coins?
Jesus, dude.
Oh boy.
I did call this out a month ago, and it was like fairly clear. Look, if you allow the corporate meme coin meta to proliferate and don't have these like kind of organic sort of communities that are mostly just kind of retail organizing, and it's something, I don't expect every meme coin to be free and fair, but something that resembles free and fair more than this group of people just organizing this whole scheme behind the scenes. If the market rewards these corporate meme coins, I'm literally telling you right now, the meme coin meta will not last, because they will just churn through these things. Everyone will lose their money, and then they'll say meme coins were a scam, and it'll be over. And if you want the meme coin meta to end, okay, congrats. Please continue buying the same group of people's tokens and corporate meme coins. But if you want it to continue, look, embrace the open mint meta, right? Like the no pre-mine open mint meta. Embrace the airdrop free and fair meta for these things. Like embrace just any meme coins out there that feel more organic looking, right? Like this is it. This is very important that the market kind of stays lean on that front. Otherwise, again, this just will not last very long.
Yeah, I agree. So we're gonna go to the hands, Book Toshi, and then Hash, and then BC Bread right after.
Good morning, guys. Adam, Jay, Chris, thank you for allowing me to speak today. Leonidas, nice meeting you this morning. I had two questions in particular, but one more importantly than the other. I shared a post of yours maybe a week ago or 2 weeks ago where you said, paraphrasing, you won't stop until Runes takes over ERC20 protocol. I'm interested to hear a little bit more as to what that exactly means on the development end, not so much on the public end.
So I think there's a lot of pieces that need to be built out here to really take that super seriously, right? So there's conceptually at a very high level, we need L2s on Bitcoin, and we need some sort of upgrade to allow trustless bridging to the L2s. And then that will allow us to have a more native sort of DeFi experience with tokens. It will allow us to have the swaps that everybody wants. That is, I think, long term going to be very important. I still think, like, look, we have a lot of room for improvement on L1. Like, we can build out better tooling, better minting, better secondary markets, better exploring for runes. Like, we can, have a better wallet experience. Like, we can improve L1 a lot. Like, there's still a lot of work to do there. We can make it a lot better, a lot more fun. I think that's something that sort of is missed. Like, Casey created this thing to be fun. Let's go build some fun meme coin experiences and tools and stuff, right? Like, this is, what I'm personally interested in working on is making, runes very fun. And I think long term, just in my head, you're gonna have a very hard time arguing with me that Bitcoin's fungible token standard will not be, storing more valuable than Ethereum's fungible token standard long term. It will probably take years, but I think we can definitely do it, and it's very achievable. And we basically, really, the only way we fail is by just sort of like not having enough builders. We kind of give up, the ecosystem gives up, and then all of a sudden some new version of a new protocol in runes has to come out in 3 years and do it. So the opportunity is very clearly there. And like, I and many other people are spending an absurd amount of their waking hours focused on making this thing successful, and we're going to force this to happen, basically, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a few things that need to happen. You have to have AMMs to compete with Ethereum or Solana. You have to have the AMMs, the liquidity pools, and the swaps. And part of that for Bitcoin means layer one changes, like Opcat is kind of moving stuff in that direction. And the other thing that you need is open protocols. So like, you need protocols that everybody can build on. Right now, a lot of the data is siloed out to marketplaces, and this could potentially lead to like a fully centralized ordinal space, as we're seeing with like Magic Eden. If they have all the listings, and they have all the liquidity, then everyone is going to their website to do this stuff, and no one can access this data. Then what happens is it just becomes totally centralized. So we need to like rely more on the on-chain data and less on the the interfaces and the data that they.
Are you referring to collection listings of ordinals, or is that runes?
Yeah, that's part of it. Yeah, it's so like we need to use more parent-child stuff. We need listings on chain, and we need swaps, and we need open protocols. Like Magic Eden's API should be open. Ordinal's wallet's API is open, but we don't have all the data. And I'm not just saying this like from like competition perspective. I'm just saying it for like the benefit of the decentralization of the whole space. The data needs to be open, and the protocols need to be open. Even look at Best in Slot. OPI is OPI is probably the thing that we should look to say, okay, we need way more of this in the ordinals space. But ultimately, if you want certain data volume and global sales history and stuff like that, you need to pay for their API, their closed source API. And so when you look at Solana and you look at Ethereum, and everybody has access to all this data at all times, That's how they're able to grow the ecosystem at a fast pace, is because all the builders have access to all the same data. And then it's just a matter of how we organize data and what tools we create on top of it that is beneficial to the end consumer. And ultimately, we don't have that yet. And so I think, how many years out are we from AMMs and swaps on Bitcoin? It's really hard to tell, but it's definitely not like tomorrow. And yeah, we need to start to think about more and more open and more on chain, or it'll be tough to compete. It will be.
Yeah, just to
I
piggyback
just have
off of
one
that.
more question.
Hold on 1 second. Just to piggyback off of Randy, I realized kind of the closed source nature of the ordinal space when Emblem was adding support for all these ordinal collections, and we went to go find the metadata for and like traits and stuff for literally. I think we list like 30 collections for like 15 of these. The only place where the traits existed was inside Magic Eden. And this isn't just like this isn't to like attack them or anything. This was just commentary on the situation. And it became such a pain in the ass where first we did use Ordinal Wallet's repository to see what was there, but it became a little bit outdated because you see this kind of flywheel effect, and it's more of a competitive advantage where the liquidity's on Magic Eden, but in order to get your ordinal collection listed on Magic Eden, you have to give them your data. But then there's no requirement to go list the traits and metadata anywhere else. So I had to go one by one to each collection owner to try to get these traits. And turns out, the majority of these builders didn't even realize that their data was being siloed in this one area. And so I do think it's a little bit of an education barrier as well, that you just have to kind of share to say, hey, we should also put these, simple things like traits and metadata and descriptions and stuff in some sort of open source nature so that builders can all be on or all have the same information to go build. Of course, it does take a little bit of the competitive advantage away if you have all the liquidity. But yeah, I do agree with Randy. And we've also gone through similar kind of tough experiences there. Sorry.
I mean, Randy, one of your biggest contributions to the space, right, was that GitHub repo you guys maintained, like at ord.io. We leveraged that. And like in general, people would go like submit their PRs there and keep things up to date. And just, eventually Magic Eden just kind of became the center of truth for that.
It's not really a matter. You don't want to have any kind of database, even a GitHub. It should just be on-chain data that anybody.
No, look,
can
Randy,
create,
you're not going to find me disagreeing with that, right? I obviously agree, but it's just more like practically speaking. Look, we can create tools so that it's easier to do parent-child. People are still doing these like Ordzar collections with no parent-child. Like people are, for whatever reason, not putting it on chain. So like there has to be some sort of middle ground where this data is available because look, we have access to the Magic Eden API and we can't even, pull out the data. Like you try to get the collection that's 10,000 pieces, you only get 9,993 pieces. It's like, well, we can't list the collection that's missing 7 pieces. It's like it just looks bad on us.
Yeah,
and
the
then
space is becoming more and more.
The new collections either, right? So it's like we don't know. There's no like endpoint of new collections that are listed. That's private. So yeah, I mean, they are doing a great job. They have a full listings team. I'm sure there's multiple people at Magic Eden. Literally, all they do is they review these things as they come in and list them, and they curate a great listing. The problem is it's not open, and then the rest of the ecosystem doesn't have it. And like that's fine. They're a private company. Like I'm not even mad at them for doing it. It's just as a space, we need to come up with some sort of more open solution for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, completely agree. Sorry, Buktoshi, go ahead.
Oh, that's all right, Jake. Thank you. All right, so Leo, my last question was this. I've been following you for a while since I've learned of what an ordinal was, being who you are in the space. And I've learned a lot from you. As we know, ordinal theory has birthed in the Ethereum world, Solana. But in particular, I'm interested in your opinion as to doginals in particular. You being, one of the main influencers behind the dog token. And I do see your post about dog eventually taking over Doge. I was just interested in how you feel about the Doginal protocol or where you see that going in the future.
I feel like every time I'm on a show with Adam and Jake,
we have a strong Doginals community.
Big dude.
No, I mean, look. So to give a little backstory here, like I hold a decent amount of Doge Party assets, and I've sort of had this thesis around Dogecoin for a while. I just literally don't have the time to even keep track of what's happening in ordinals. So I'm barely going to be able to like it's not really reasonable to imagine I'm going to go to some other ecosystem and figure out what the cool projects are or what this is, right? Like I understand the general premise. I think it's all about bootstrapping the organic community where you need a certain amount of things in place. We talked about this a lot with the co-founder of Counterparty yesterday, where it's like Counterparty has a lot going for it. It's actually much harder than Dogenos, right? But the problem is these smaller ecosystems, they need a great explorer where you can go plug in a transaction onto some website and see things. They need, some sort of, leaders or voice in the ecosystem that's purely focused, who is going to show up every day, who's going to host Twitter Spaces. Like this is important. And then you need like a good wallet that allows you to view these tokens and trade these things. And like these are just fundamental pieces that are lacking in these ecosystems that I would say are going to be it's going to be really hard to onboard people if you don't have those few basic pieces in place. So I would encourage all communities, like you want to bootstrap that initial ecosystem to then grow on its own, and you need people that'll stick around. I think like Litecoin, for example, I think Litecoin did ordinals. And I just don't think there was like a real community there that like wanted to stick around and fight for Litecoin no matter what for the next 3 years.
100%.
They just wanted to make money and then they left. And like you don't want to be that. So I think Dogenos has more of a community like that, and they need to build on that. And I think fundamentally the narrative should be that Dogecoin should be the blockchain for memes, and create a dank meme culture over on Dogecoin. That's probably what you guys should be doing.
I don't know if you guys saw it yesterday, but
Thank you, Leo. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Buktoshi. Did you guys see J-Dog said he's out? Did you see that tweet yesterday?
Party. Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
J-Dog yesterday was like,
up?
mic drop, I'm out. Nice knowing you.
He's building his own kind of multi-chain project. It's called what is it? BTNS, Broadcast Name Service, or something like that. Yeah, I think he was a little bit kind of burned, right? Being the lead maintainer of Counterparty for 6-7 years, and then the co-founders come in and he passed everything over and kind of, got looked over by the community, I guess. Although he is greatly appreciated, I think it's just one of those kind of personal developer kind of situations. But yeah, he held that thing together for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, here's the deal. Basically, talking to Adam yesterday, it seemed like him and J-Dog had very different philosophies on this. And yeah, I could see how they didn't totally match the future of Counterparty. And I think J-Dog, like, look, he served an incredibly important role, and it kind of kept things up and going. I mean, it's almost like hard to describe how important that was. Okay, like without that, I'm genuinely not confident Counterparty would even be a thing. Yeah, so he served a very important role. I just, I'm not sure if his approach was necessarily how you grow this thing 100x. And like, I think that's what people want. People do want millions of people trading rare pepes. I think everybody would agree that's the goal. And if that's the goal, then like I personally like Adam's approach and kind of leadership style there.
Yeah, I mean, when they censored stamps in SRC20, that was, kind of what divided the community. I do think this, and I said this last year, if SRC20 stayed on Counterparty, and then you had Adam come in and do Counterparty 2.0, right? You'd have SRC20, you have a fungible token standard, you have stamps, which is, the permanent kind of NFT collection. Then you have Counterparty. I think that would be like a real competitor to Ordinals. I still do think it will be a competitor over time, but I think that would be a very, very strong community. So passing it around, Hash, if you still have a question, you can go ahead, then BC Bread, then Farmer Joe.
Yeah, just hey guys, thanks for having me up. Maybe a few things just since we've passed over most of the topics pretty appropriately. The meta with the runes and even BRC20s, I think one thing to differentiate is that the total quantity of tokens do not necessarily need to be the largest possible number. It's really what Leonidas was hitting on, I believe, was the fair mint piece of the limit. And to have that somewhere in the range of 500,000 to 1 million feels really healthy. But we do not need 80 quadrillion, bajillion kind of token numbers. That gets a little wild when you have 10 zeros or something to work with. So I just thought that was a good good piece to add to that when we were talking earlier. And the question I had for Leonidas is more like, what would you want that wallet experience to really look like? And how do you see runes transact superseding that clunky BRC experience we're used to with Unisat?
Okay, so long term, the answer is we do need the L2s, and we need very standard sort of fast. You click a button, you instantly get a swap with any amount of money. There's two sides to the market, and it's instant right on an L2. So that's like the long term answer. In the short term, look, it's like take 100 genius, like you can, with constraints, you can still do incredible things. So like this is a complete hypothetical, but I'm trying to show it's possible. Take the 100 best designers at Apple and product managers at Apple and the people who designed iOS and like tell them to come build the best possible experience for this. I know it would be much better than what we have today. So we can do better. We can make better experiences. We can address problems that people have. We're always going to be on L1 constrained by the 10-minute block times. And I personally believe on L1, we're going to be constrained by having this sort of order book that's a little bit kind of just batched buys of things, because at least to date, I've not heard there's people claiming they built it. There's people claiming they're doing it. There's like 10 startups building dexes on L1 for runes, but the ones that are claiming to do the swap, I don't trust that this is they're basically in some way custodying some tokens. I fundamentally don't know how you do this. PSBT is like really the only little tool that we have. And I don't see how you do this without PSBTs personally. You can make the experience, like I believe what Magic Eden is trying to do with their swap that they have. They kind of marketed they're doing a swap. I'm not sure if they're doing it anymore, but I think what they were trying to do was it was just under the hood going to be the PSBT order book, and then they would do some like smart matching to try to make it feel like you're doing an AMM, even though they're kind of like maybe matching you up to different things. I'm still just not sure that's what the user wants. Like I probably just want to still see, like I don't want to be matched with something that costs more money, for example. I want to just, yeah, it's very interesting. I think probably we're stuck with a similar to what Magic Eden has today, but you can make the experience a bit better, but you're not going to have the AMM style feel on L1 without giving up custody, which I think would be not a great move for the ecosystem.
Okay, appreciate it.
Look, centralized exchanges are the AMMs. This is why ultimately it doesn't matter. I try to explain to people, guys, like dog, everyone's like focused on the dog ticker. The runes people won't like the dog ticker, or dog isn't going to be able to trade because not enough people are over here. None of that matters. Like, the fact that we're rune number 3 literally doesn't matter at all to a retail investor. Okay. So none of this matters. The retail investor just hears that there's a dog coin on Bitcoin that's $1 billion, and then they buy it on Binance. Like that is how 99% of people in the future, if this plays out in the bull case, will think about dog. And that's okay. That's just how it is. So ultimately, we have the same level playing field at the end game for the token. It's just the early life cycle is a little more of a rough experience, and you have to get around that. But you have to understand, you put this in front of people on the top exchanges, it really is identical to every other token. And this is why I'm ultimately not worried about it at all.
So you're telling me that if they have Doge and Dog right next to each other, they're going to know which one is which.
I'm saying there's going to be a Doge and Dog pair. I'm hoping there's a Doge and Dog pair, and these things are traded against each other, and I think it'll be fun. I think meme coins are about having fun and entertainment, and it's like, of course, you should be talking about flipping the top dog, right? Like, what is your goal if it's not to flip the top dog, right? Like, we're Bitcoin. If we can't flip the top dog, then nobody can, right? So.
Yeah, I have to say one of the funnest things I saw last year was when Bell's coin launched. One of the centralized exchanges did Doge Bells, and it was just really cool because it was both created by the same person, and to see it kind of trading against each other, it ignited a lot of that initial fun. Was like kind of the narrative, right? You're trading both of Billy's tokens right next to each other. We'll go BC Bread, then Farmer Joe right after.
Yeah, GM fam. Interesting, discussion, and I feel like, as I've been slowly getting orange pilled, right, and building more over in the BTC kind of ecosystem, I definitely like feel like people are lumping in runes with meme coins, and I feel like they're similar, but they're very different. You know what I mean? It's like these meme coins that celebrities are launching and doing all these things. Like we've yet to see a celebrity like really like try to fast launch a rune because like they just can't figure the shit out. You know what I mean? And I think that like realistically, it's one of those things where I think it's going to develop almost its own kind of ecosystem or its own narrative, by itself, separate from meme coins. And like Leonidas was saying, once we get more tooling and some more like kind of front end tools, some easy no code, low code solutions for other people to launch these types of things, I think that we'll get a lot more traffic in that ecosystem. I've been kind of playing around. I'm getting orange pilled by the bit dogs, and that community and messing around with some of the bones and stuff like that. And I think it was mentioned earlier that it's kind of like, I haven't, I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, right? But I mean, like, I feel like I haven't seen any of like the crazy influencer pumps and things like that, like you do see on standard, ERC20s, meme coins, even back with NFTs, you would get the honoraries and all of these things that would just cause an insane amount of hype. And I'm not really seeing that with a whole lot of the tokens over there in the BTC community, especially with the bit dogs. I'm not aware of any like influencers or KOLs or whatever the hell you want to refer to them as these days that are really pumping that project. And I think that once we get, again, once we get more people kind of building in that space, I think at that point it'll open up the door. But realistically, I think a majority of influencers aren't even aware half this shit exists.
Yeah, I agree. I would say it's probably because of runes are a little bit more proof of work and you got to put some capital up front, right? If a bunch of these, influencers or, celeb coins, they come in and they can snipe 20% for, a few $100s. Whereas here, the runes community is kind of collectively decided that they don't want pre-mines unless it's associated with a project. And if you're going to do a meme coin, it has to be, completely open, which then means that the celebs or influencers have to come in and allocate X amount of capital, probably thousands of dollars or tens of thousands if they want to kind of try to corner the market. And there has to be some coordination there. And it's also out there in the open, right? Using or.io, you can clearly see which wallet's minting all of these. And it's, I think, just a little bit of a more fair and free dynamic, or just more fair dynamic, I should say. And then I don't know if Leo has any thoughts on that as well. Do you have any thoughts?
Look, it's ultimately the tooling is definitely part of it, but it's mostly what the market will tolerate, right? Whatever, like we will 100% get right up to the amount that we tolerate. Like whatever we will buy is what exactly will come down the pipeline for you to buy. So if the market says we love free mines, we buy 50% free mines just like the Solana Moon Boys, and we get, our pre mines dumped on our heads, and we love doing this. And yeah, expect there to be a ton of free mines and a ton of celebrity stuff and a ton of things getting dumped on your head. If, which is what we do, we say we don't like free mines on non-utility tokens, and we just have these free and open mints or free and fair airdrops, then all of a sudden you have a much healthier space and you're going to see more people do this sort of thing. So the market, the demand side 100% drives the supply side, in my opinion. Like it's the retail investor. It's like the market deciding what it wants, and whatever it tolerates is what will be coming. So you get what you deserve.
Yeah, well said. What's up, Farmer Joe, man? Long time no talk, brother. How you been?
Yep. We're good. Yeah, I waited a little bit, but I gotta drop off on a call in like 45 seconds, but I'll be hopefully pretty quick. We're starting to see, like, I would say, like, Bitcoin as a data availability layer makes a lot of sense. So what Randy said about, creating open access to data and information is really critical for the longevity of the ecosystem as a whole, right? It's one of the things that we're certainly lacking. And obviously for business reasons, at this point in time, there's been a huge amount of, I would say, like, gatekeeping and monopolization for the best interests of those companies to maybe wait until things start to mature so that they can figure out what path they're going to take as an operating entity. You know, I think, yes, we're always going to face 10-minute block times, but there's a lot of like very interesting teams that are building. I recently spoke to one, which is, you know, interfacing with Layer 0, which is, you know, obviously hugely powerful as a tool for other chains. And now, for the first time in the next couple of months, I suspect we'll finally have access to that level of, you know, opportunity for Bitcoin as an L1. So any asset on Bitcoin L1 will have Layer 0 interoperability, which is, you know, it can't be understated as well. Beyond that, of course, like, you know, one, Opcat is great. But Opcat enables a lot of partnerships to coexist with things like Wormhole and Layer 0 as well. So I think, you know, it's an exciting time to obviously be on Bitcoin. I think there's just I want to highlight like a really interesting article that actually an on-chain researcher put together. He put together a Medium post. He goes by Johnny Himalaya. He's an OG Pixel Pepe, which is great. It means he was here on day one with Ordinal's wallet, was using Ordinals on day one. And he actually examined and wrote a summary on every single one of the, you know, Bitcoin order book DEXs, AMMs that actually summarizes how they work, the trust assumptions related to each and every one of them. And I think it really depends on like what users are willing to give up. You know, I think it's a bit of an experiment as well because, you know, maybe some of these give, you know, I would say far too much custodial risk, and others are so partial that maybe it won't matter. But it's also like an experiment at the same time. You know, I think, I don't know, like the whole AMM model on Bitcoin, while it has a lot of merit, I just think from an implementation perspective, it is obviously going to be challenging. Like we see this as an example on Stacks as almost a test net for what we can get to, or the current version of Stacks being like a test net for what Bitcoin may look like after Opcat, as an example, or maybe closer to the current state of Stacks than we currently are. But Stacks obviously has 10-minute block times, and you know people haven't necessarily adopted Stacks in size and scale. So, you know, do we want to trade on an AMM style, you know, version on a 10-minute basis? Maybe. I think the answer is maybe. To some extent, you know, it's certainly better than, you know, the current UX. But I think, you know, I align with Leo in the sense that right now we don't have like a technical problem on Bitcoin. I think we just have a user experience UX problem because there's so many ways that you can build a better order book DEX on Bitcoin with a tile-based system if you treat it as more of a, you know, order book marketplace. And, you know, I think Saturn is a good example of that. They've really taken, you know, the view that it should look like a pro trading marketplace. But again, it has this custodial angle to it. And, you know, maybe some people aren't necessarily comfortable with it. Sure, there's a little bit of volume there and it's shaping up quite nicely. So it shows that some people are willing to take, you know, some level of custodial risk to a degree. But, you know, I think if we start to visualize these as true order book DEXs and maybe less of an AMM, you know, I think from a front end perspective, you can build a pretty kick-ass marketplace that people will enjoy using. That being said, there's always this issue of getting sniped in the mempool, and you know, there's only so many ways that you can get around that at this point in time. And maybe it just means like someone's going to build like a really good front end for runes that also has, you know, sniping enabled. So it means that everyone has access to these tools and sniping is no longer, you know, an edge for any trader.
Hey man, can you pin that tweet or that article up top so we can take a look at that?
It's not a tweet. It was something that I got sent by iMessage, but I will How about this? I'll tweet it out right after this, and I gotta drop off because I'm 4 minutes late to this call. But maybe someone can pin it up there because it was a really good read.
I'll
Yeah,
pin it
tweet
up.
it out,
I'll pin it up top. I'll pin it. Thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks, Farmer Joe.
I think those were all good points. I wanted to talk about sniping because it's becoming more and more relevant over time. But ultimately, the end game for sniping is that, you know, until a block with the transaction is mined, the item is still for sale, and that's just all about the way that we interface with it. I think eventually, over a long enough period of time, you know, someone will buy an item, but it'll still be technically for sale and available for basically like a mempool bidding war until the block is confirmed. And so that'll be an interesting new development for interfaces. You know, the ordinal space has changed so much since, you know, we first dropped Ordinal's wallet. And so, you know, now what it's becoming is like a very, you know, kind of an advanced marketplaces have to become advanced data tools, basically, and advanced data dashboards. And I think Magic Eden, you know, as far as people are saying when it comes to the UX, I think Magic Eden kind of nailed it with their runes interface and the way that you interface with the order book. That's going to be the best experience for on-chain trading for a long time, I think. And maybe it's not on Magic Eden, but like that interface of like, you know, basically a slider where you're selecting, you know, listings and then buying in the amount or similar, close to the amount that you want. I think that's going to be the fastest and easiest way to trade, you know, not just runes like it is now, but all ordinals, NFTs and BRC20s and TAP and whatever else for a long time until swap technology becomes viable in BTC, which currently, you know, it is not. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think they've done a really good job. I kind of view Magic Eden similar to what traditional TradFi traders call spot markets, right? But I think it'd be more similar to like an on-chain market, and it's, you know, it gets the job done. And if you look at, you know, the trading on Magic Eden comparative to how we'll use, for example, how Dog trades on Magic Eden versus how Dog trades on centralized exchanges versus how Dog trades on Merlin chain, right? Like the spot market always kind of flows later. You see like liquidity, or you could say velocity of the liquidity tends to be a little bit higher on these like L2s or these different, you know, non-spot markets. And then the spot market or on-chain market of Magic Eden then tries to catch up to it. So I think paying attention to some of these dynamics if you're a trader is really important. But at the end of the day, I think that's probably the closest you're going to get without having some trade-offs going to quote unquote some of these L2s, right? Because centralized exchange is pretty much like a Bitcoin L2 if you think about it, right? You're just taking the spot asset, depositing it into an ecosystem, and then sacrificing, you know, some of the trade-offs of the crypto trilemma, right? Which is like security, scalability, and decentralization. So if you go to, you know, Binance, if you deposit Dog on Binance, you're sacrificing some of that to decentralization, and you're getting some scalability, right? Or some speed and some efficiency, and kind of going there. And honestly, working at Emblem for the last 18 months, I've kind of noticed that this has been a trend for a while, is exporting Bitcoin assets to other ecosystems, right? Whether you're taking a rare Pepe, putting it in a vault and trading it on Ethereum, or you're taking Dog and trading it on right on Binance, or you're taking Bitmap and going and experimenting with it in Merlin chain. This to me has been a trend on Bitcoin for going on 5 years now, maybe 6 years. And you know, Leo's talked about this as well, is right, we need more L2s, and I think that's going to be the continued trend for all Bitcoin native assets. I think a lot of people are really realizing that, you know, if you want a pristine asset, the best thing to do is probably go mint it on Bitcoin. And then if you want some sort of programmability, utility, efficiency, whatever the trade-off is, you go and then export this to whatever that ecosystem is. And so I think if you kind of have this framework, you know, you have a little bit more tolerance for these like spot markets and know that, maybe they're not efficient, but you are getting, that very pristine type asset, at least as of now, and probably for a long time, right? Bitcoin is the place to go create these assets and then move it to other ecosystems, just kind of like how the real world works, right? All these different countries. If you look at blockchains as countries, all of the different countries in the real world, right? They export whatever their, kind of best assets are, right? And this could be anything from, physical manufacturing to, intellectual property. And for me, just noticing with Bitcoin, the trend right now is minting or etching or right inscribing on Bitcoin and then going and exporting it to a new country, per se. And so I think with that kind of framework, you could kind of see where the future of these different Bitcoin ecosystems are really headed. And I think it just helps with a little bit more framework. I do want to pass it over to Chris, who's been waiting patiently. Thanks, brother. What's good?
Yo, so, we talk about it all the time. We've said it a million times here today. These centralized exchanges have always been kind of the borderless marketplaces for the entire industry. But where have they kind of been at with runes? What's kind of the delays? Maybe Leo, you have a better perspective than we do internally. But I mean, it's not like the liquid market has been super hot. I feel like they've been looking for the next narrative. Why hasn't maybe someone Bitcoin centric like Kraken or someone looking for a steep competitive advantage really jumped on this, put their engineers to work and kind of built out tooling for these products? What do you think kind of the lag and maybe delay might be?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, I mean, I would first of all say you don't, expectations are very high.
I
So
mean,
I
2
think,
months is a funny delay, but like just jumping head
yeah,
first, kind of really
yeah, I
putting
like.
their teams to work on it.
I'm happy that a lot of exchanges have already adopted this. I genuinely just think a lot of these guys like don't move super fast when it comes to integrating new protocols. So I think it'll take time. I still believe it's inevitable. Ultimately, like I don't want to pick on any top specific exchanges. Essentially, if you're like we're talking about the tier ones, right? The really big guys, they have these giant in-house legal teams who essentially need to green light stuff, right? And there's like a whole diligence process. They literally will probably spend like $1 million vetting that things are legit. They can't have a bad eye for the company. They can't, they're under massive regulatory scrutiny. They have to basically have a lot more compliance than just maybe some of these smaller exchanges. So that comes with listing a new protocol or listing a token. So that takes time. I think in general, it's like if Dog had the war chest to pay these guys, they would list us, right? Like right away. The problem is we don't have the war chest. So they're kind of being a little bit slower, but I think that's completely kind of normal. And I think there will be other rooms that will help, probably pay some of these exchanges to help them list. Like, RSIC did that with OKX. So ultimately, I think unfortunately, it's like, OKX lists this thing and then it doesn't necessarily do very well. Well, that's not a great look necessarily for OKX because they're a tier one exchange. They need to like list things and they go way up and it's this huge thing. And they didn't really get that. And it's kind of unfortunate that they didn't list Dog, but it's up to their listing team what they want to list. So I think that long term here, they're going to list more tokens. It will take time. The engineering teams are going to need to integrate the protocol if they haven't. It just takes time. And I think these listing businesses are an important part of how these exchanges make money. So they need to make sure, like, even if they are taking a bunch of tokens and listing something, they need to still believe in it somewhat and that it'll go up. Otherwise, their power to list things and it goes up and increases liquidity goes away. So it needs to be a big deal when you get listed on their exchange. Otherwise, people a year from now won't be paying them $5 million for the listing. So that is like the equation. And I think these guys are intentionally, cautious around what they list. But if they're bullish on the thing, like I think they eventually list, right? I think they find a way to list. Like we're getting perps, which is really nice, and then I think that's hopefully a path to a spot because then they have the liquidity already there. So things will keep building, momentum will keep building. I'm continuing to have conversations with all of these exchanges, and their listing teams are very professional, smart people. They know exactly what they're doing, and yeah, their jobs are on the line. If they,
Do
they
you think you need to hit like a certain number or certain volume is the thing that would trigger them? Because obviously, like with Dog, they need to actually go out and like acquire the token itself, which is money up front for them and all this sort of thing. Do you think they just look for momentum, or is it like a dollar figure? It has to, if Dog blew past $1 billion in the first couple of weeks, do you think that would have like immediately triggered that, or how do you after talking to them, how do you think they think about that?
So yeah, it's like it's interesting. I don't think there is any it's all individual case by case basis.
Yeah.
I think my guess is what the exchange really cares about is their listing team, how much just pure revenue they're bringing in. So it's like they brought in, they got 1% of this NOT coin or something like this that rocketed to 1.5 billion, and they got 1% of it. And it was this whole kind of architected thing where it got all these listings, and they just gave a bunch of money to the exchanges. Well, the exchanges basically then just get to dump all of it and make, $50 million. So the listing team, hands to the CEO $50 million check. Look what we just did for this NOT coin. That's what they're looking for. Like that's what their business is. Okay, don't make any mistakes. Like that's obviously what's happening.
So wait, why aren't they acquiring Dog now that it's down? They should be like buying. Maybe they are. Actually, maybe they are.
Well, look, I don't, I don't know on the. I'm talking about. Yeah, it's tough, right? With Dog specifically, there's several paths to getting listed, right? We can have the perp first. There's the path where they don't even have to buy Dog, right, Adam? They can literally just open up a deposit address, make a big announcement. I help them blow it up, and then it goes live 12 hours later. But people brought the liquidity in just because we have a large group of people that want to trade the token, right? So,
but don't they still have to? I mean, they still have to have the kind of their own to create that liquidity pool. Don't they have to have enough of?
Honestly, when you start they might. It does help to have some sort of market maker situation a little bit, but in many cases, like these small exchanges, they're not. They literally were just doing a deposit address and letting people list, and then when it opens up, they're just buying, and then it instantly just a market starts. And you'll watch for the first 5-10 minutes, it's very volatile because it's not a very healthy market. But then it just matches. If they're big enough of an exchange, enough traders, somebody comes in and clicks buy who couldn't buy it before. He gets featured in their email. Everybody knows they can buy it there now. And then, arbitrage kicks in. There's funds that are extremely sophisticated that are seeing, okay, the price here is 20% higher than everywhere else. And they're sophisticated funds that are arbitrage funds that will make sure the liquidity is there within 10 minutes of that thing going live. So it does lead to a slightly bumpy start for the first 10 minutes, but it honestly works pretty darn well.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a good response. All right, we're going to go to Vincent, and then we'll begin to wrap it up unless anybody else has some questions. What's good, bro? One of the top dogfluencers on Runes.
What up, what up? And also Jake as well. And we got Bongo. I mean, I like seeing you guys. You guys have been many of the reasons why I love this community so much. But yeah, just kind of following what Leonidas was saying, this is just kind of me going on a rant. With that recent video that just came out with Fidelity paying attention to Runes, which is this $4.9 trillion hedge fund, that caught me off guard, to be very honest, because I've never, or maybe haven't seen recently, any type of hedge fund talk about a Runes ecosystem or even Memecoins in general as one of their focuses in their digital assets department. That to me shows genuine interest in something that is completely new, because since this is built on it is now not a security, which is a commodity, Bitcoin, I think they can talk about it more often. And so I think that because we're not paying these exchanges, these tier one exchanges fees, I think what is really interesting about this is whatever happens with this, if there is one tier one exchange that lists the specific Dog token on their platform, it's going to be a game changer, because now it's going to set a new precedent for how coins should be listed. Should we actually be paying fees, right? And if this leads the way in something in this whole new narrative of not having to pay these exchanges, that it's a free airdrop, I think other projects will want to do that And so right now what we're seeing is completely something new, but also something that is, I guess, making people either weary or very interested in the project. I can see why, Binance would take the longest, maybe not even that long. I think about Binance, what happened to ZZ, like I'm sure the new CEO is just trying to avoid any future problems for himself. That makes complete sense. But the fact that they are reporting on runes in Binance Research and all these other ecosystems, perpetual and futures contracts, sounds like a great start, because I would do that before listing spot trading. It just seems like the safest way, just to kind of understand the demand. They want to, I feel like for them, they want to serve their customers. That's their number one priority. And number two, maybe not number two, but maybe as a number one as well, making money. How much revenue do they bring in with the whole Notcoin? That was a great example that Leonidas brought up. And so I know that this will bring in so much revenue for them, but I guess for the legal situation, they just, because it's like been maybe 2 months, maybe less than that, it's already on everybody's attention. So I wouldn't be surprised if it just took a little longer. But with that said, as a closing statement, with these dog runes being available to purchase in very small marketplaces. When I mean small, it's not like everywhere. It's very specific places. I feel like these are the opportunities to kind of scoop as much as you can, because it's almost like an open pre-order, pre-sale of these tokens. Okay, not financial advice. I'm just saying this is my own personal opinion. I've just never seen a model like this before, right? And it almost feels like for once, everybody can participate at the exact same time without feeling like somebody from the inside is going to rug them, So I just want to put that out there. Really happy that the community is really educated on these dog influencers, but also community members that share their input as well. And Jake, like for you, hosting the space is really important for all of us to understand what all this really means. So thank you for hosting the space, and thank you, Leonidas, for always taking time to do every single interview with everybody, because I know it's long, it's energy draining, but I can tell you really enjoy it. But you are doing something that is very inspirational, and it's going to change the new meta. This could be the new meta for how centralized exchange listings shall list tokens. So that's it for me. Thanks for having me up.
Yeah, appreciate it, Vincent. Go ahead, Leo. Sorry.
I was just going to thank Vincent. Vincent's been crushing it, creating YouTube videos about lots of things, but specifically a lot of dog content recently, and just really giving thoughtful breakdowns. I think is a pretty level-headed guy that kind of thinks a lot of the ways I do about these things. And yeah, I appreciate you, man. You're really seriously an important piece of this community. And I think a lot of people are looking to people to basically break down, fundamentally, you clearly understand the space well, and are able to break things down in a way that makes sense to people. And I think that that's sort of lacking in this space. And even a lot of the tweets I fire off sometimes, I can tell there's just a lot of people who are like, what the hell is he talking about? And, you can go watch your videos and get a decent understanding of what's the dynamic in the market, and, have a decent feel for, where dog is at. And I think it's important to have that, right? Because it's there's a lot of people, they'll just go to CoinMarketCap and they'll see that dog is down, 12% today or something, and they'll just freak out and sell their dog or something like this. And yeah, a lot of people are new to the space. They don't have as much experience as you do and stuff. And your videos are seriously a good, really, really good place to just go and watch and kind of get a vibe check on the market. And I pretty much agree with most of what you're saying. I can't really think off the top of my head of too many things where a lot of people in the dog community will eventually tweet something and I'll be like, yeah, I don't really agree with that. I usually won't say anything, but you're pretty spot on with a lot of what you're kind of sharing, man. So just keep it up. You've got a good logical way of reasoning and thinking about things and breaking it down. And it's great content, seriously. So keep it up, man. I'm sure you're going to be a big YouTuber, top YouTuber in the future. I can just tell you've got it, man. So keep it up.
Thanks. And the last thing I want to just kind of feed off that as well, just compliment it. Wendy O and Dan, prominent YouTubers who've been in the space for years, are also talking about dog. Just don't pay attention to me too, and I really appreciate Leonidas, but these guys are talking about it. If they are talking about it with these hundreds of thousands of followers, and they are well educated as me, it just goes to show you, my gosh, this is something that they've never seen before. So yeah, man, you created this, so don't be too surprised if we completely want to like amp it up because we've never seen anything like this before. So yeah, thanks, man.
All right, enough ass kissing here. I wanted to talk. I think this is a good topic to kind of end it on, but I wanted to talk about BRC20 and
What the fuck is
or
BRC20?
like, yeah. So like,
Are you guys gonna let Randy come in here and just take over the show and tell me what?
Yeah, I
You're
know.
gonna chill that. Don't chill that garbage in this space, bro.
So
We're talking
listen,
about the real coins on Bitcoin, bro.
Just listen. The one thing about BRC20, so like everyone's talking about runes and dog, and it's the new meta to end these rugs. But runes is like on the protocol level, it enables this pre-mine, this massive pre-mine, as we've seen with a lot of even the major rune tokens. And the one thing about BRC20 that I thought was like could really change the ecosystem was the fair by default mint, which is basically you release the deploy inscription, and then all of a sudden everyone has equal opportunity and the same amount of max tokens that they can mint per inscription by default. So even if I deploy it, yeah, I have the meta. I'm the first one to mint it probably. But ultimately, it is public and everyone can mint at exactly the same moment. And I think that is a really important piece. And one of the things about the BRC20 culture that I thought could really change the crypto token game. And now that Runes has come out as like the meta, the top dog in terms of like Bitcoin tokens. One, what do you guys think happens to BRC20 and tokens like Ordi? And then two, what do you think that means in terms of like this, Bitcoin style release method that was really nice about BRC20? I think that'll probably result in more rugs on Runes than we had seen in BRC20.
Yeah, you've seen Casey come out against the new updated BRC20s, and I think on his recent podcast he said it was unlikely he was going to add new features to Runes because of the potential MEV that it could introduce. With BRC20, I've actually talked about this pretty recently. I kind of put it into two different classes, like legacy BRC20, which is the 4 tickers, and then kind of the newer BRC20, which is the 5 bytes. When you look at the culture of BRC20, everyone is left, right? All the large majority of communities have migrated to Runes. Really, the only communities that are left really for BRC20 is Ordi, which is a decentralized community, Sats, which is also a decentralized community, and then you have Track, really is like the only ones that stayed. So looking at 5 byte, you have Pizza, which was just airdropped and is following a similar model to what Dog has done in terms of free and fair, right? But the free and fair is with the interaction of Unisat, which anybody could technically interact with. They're moving towards, I think more programmability here. And I think they are kind of forced to, and I'll go on a little tangent here and then I'll pass it off to Leo. BRC20 had 6 months of opportunity to potentially fork and create their own standalone fungible token standard. Domo decided to be more hands off. And, because of that, Runes came in and basically created a better trading platform. And, now it's kind of the situation where, Unisat kind of commandeered BRC20 because that's where their business model is. And if BRC20 in the current state wants to go, one-on-one with Runes for a trading experience, it's going to lose, and it already has kind of lost the battle. So they have to do something different here. And so what they're doing now is you see kind of this, this kind of tag team of best in slot, Domo with Layer 1 Foundation, and Unisat trying to figure out what's the best model here. Benari, I believe, is the one that's taking kind of the architecture kind of redesign, and they've mentioned that they are looking to add EVM inside of the BRC20 inscription. What that actually means, I have no idea, but from what it looks like, they're adding more programmability because they have to go in kind of a different direction here. And if they do nail that, then maybe there's something unique about that, maybe some sort of self-executing functions or something like that gets rid of the requirement of a transfer inscription, and they're, now they have a module that's being created by Unisat, right? A swap module. And so all three of them are really working together, and they're kind of, now behind and they have to catch up. But when it comes to BRC20, I think it's really the culture is restarting at this point with the 5 bytes, because everybody is really left. And I think it leaves kind of this open opportunity for, hungry developers that want to step into kind of this new blue ocean to come in and build based off of, what's released with BRC20 in the next few months, like they said. There's a lot of unknowns that comes to it, but kind of how I'm viewing it is you have the legacy of 4 bytes, and then kind of the newer ones with 5 bytes, and the 5 bytes are going to have what it sounds like more programmability, because they're kind of forced to go into a different direction now. And, I don't know if everyone remembers, there was kind of this like square off between Domo and Unisat months back. And, ultimately Domo lost that battle. And Unisat kind of said, it's my show, it's our business model. And if you look at Unisat, they were the first to the scene with Runes. Their Runes marketplace was 4 or 5 days ahead of Unisat or of Magic Eden. And something, I forget what happened. There was like a Cenotaph issue or something happened, and Magic Eden released their Runes platform a few days early and basically captured the entire market. Now, Unisat's business model is really BRC20 and this gaming kind of initiative that they're going on. And so, I don't think Unisat's going to let BRC20 die, or they're going to do everything in their power, because that's literally, the majority of their business is dependent on it. And that's just kind of like how I'm looking at it. I know there's kind of multi-pronged, but with 5 bytes, it's really kind of a new ocean, but they are following a similar ethos of this free and fair drop to get the meme coin kind of going. I'll pass it off to Leo for his thoughts on BRC20. I know it's a lot to follow.
BRC20, what are we even talking about?
You made a lot of good points there. Like, look, I kind of have to be careful. I don't want to create any sort of dramas, really. I'm focused on Runes. I don't really care what happens elsewhere. I'm probably just not going to share my honest opinions. I think.
Come on,
dude. Give us a soundbite.
Man, it's like, look, if I give my honest opinion, I'm just going to get flooded by BRC20 people. So I don't see like it does no good for me to say what I think about this. It really doesn't go anywhere. Like.
No, I think you've said it before, man. You've said it before, which is basically you don't believe there's going to be more than one fungible token standard, right? You believe there
will be one fungible token standard, and that will be it. Like the next one will basically not have any value. So I'll basically say that.
Okay. Yo, I'll put BRC20. I've had tokens stuck in Unisat swap for like over a year. I still can't get them out. So there's my BRC20 FUD. What the fuck is going on with that?
Oh, buddy. Well, I appreciate everyone who came on stage today. We've been at this 2 hours. We'll wrap it up here. Appreciate, Leo for coming in, sharing his time, always being committed to dogs and just the overall kind of ordinal and ecosystem. You call it Bitcoin Season 2, and appreciate Bongo, Randy, On-Chain Hustlers, Vincent, Stoney, Hash, BC Bread, and everybody else who came on stage today for this conversation. It was really quite incredible. A few notes here. If you guys don't know, Adam, myself, and Chris, who are on stage, we work at Emblem Vault, the leading cross-chain NFT protocol in the industry with about 100 million TVV. That's total value vaulted. We host a show Tuesday through Thursday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. Tomorrow we are hosting Ghosty Cash. If you guys don't know, that is one of the kind of growing swap tools. You can swap Runes for ETH. You could swap BRC20 for Solana and all of that. They actually just migrated their BRC20 token to Tap. So we're going to dive into that and kind of learn all about their ecosystem. I hope everyone who's here, please follow the Emblem Vault account. We have a lot of stuff coming. One, we've been building a cross-chain marketplace for about 6 months now, which is going to be launching here in the next few weeks, as well as a new vault management interface. If you've ever been on Emblem.finance, we're actually going to have a new one that's going to be under the Emblem.vision account. I've been posting about it for a lot. So pretty excited. Emblem Vault is home to, almost 100 million in Bitcoin NFT value, most of that being counterparty assets. And so a lot of stuff coming down the pipeline here. I'm just really excited and appreciate everyone who's come in today, especially you, Leo. Man, I've been doing podcasts and stuff together, me, you, Adam, for almost 3 years now. It's kind of crazy, or even more than 3 years. But I'll leave it up to you. Any final words here before we do close this out?
I'm glad we got the boys back together. Miss you guys. We need to have more of just like shoot the shit kind of space too. I feel like I need to represent the dog community and be somewhat serious when I come on. I'm not joking. Like there's like a responsibility with people spending a lot of money, right? So I take it seriously and I try to, come up here and hopefully give my honest, serious thoughts on things. But we need to have more of a casual like space with us sometime.
Yeah, I would love that, dude. We could dive into, HNFTs, but also just general kind of market talk is a lot of fun.
Dude, like we're all here 24/7. We can all give commentary on like all this ridiculous shit happening. Like we could talk forever about this stuff.
Right. So two final notes here. I just saw NVIDIA just became the most valuable company in the world, just past Apple. Also, too, maybe this is even dog related. Kobe just put out a post about how he thinks the airdrop meta is dead. So maybe this is an opportunity for the Runes community to come in and talk about free and fair airdrops. Kobe just came out and said that he thinks layer 0 is the last airdrop that's going to happen because exactly what we're saying. He even noted the 41% of people selling and that it draws in the wrong community. So, maybe Runes community should go there and talk about what's happening over here at Runes and how the different type of airdrops are happening, right? These type of things are really awesome. But yeah, we're going to close it up here. I appreciate everyone. Again, follow everyone who's on stage, really putting a lot of effort into growing out the Bitcoin ecosystem. We talk about all these different things and maybe we disagree, but we're all here on the same mission. So everybody enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. Be safe out there. Come join the Ghosty Cash show tomorrow, and then also the Ordinal show tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. There we go. We get to chill, everybody. Until then, guys, enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good one.